Morning, Simon.
Nice. Morning, everybody. How are you?
Peter, how the fuck did you get in my diary at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon?
I was going to say that's a bit special, isn't it? I don't know whether that's lucky or whatever. How are you? You good, Peter? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, busy. Yeah, it's a bit busy for me, but I'm all right.
I can imagine it's gone absolutely insane. Of course, everyone wanting your consultancy, like everyone about what the hell do we do in this new world, really?
Yeah. Well, everyone wants online, and we've got a lot of really cool online stuff. So yeah, pretty busy.
Well, we'll talk about that later. As David told you, we don't do much foreplay on this show. We go straight into it.
No, that's good. And I want to give you what you would like to get from me. Just give me an overview, though. Yeah. What do you want?
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I was lucky enough, if you remember, when John Pring introduced us many moons ago.
I do.
And I think if I'm remembering right, it was called Making a Difference, was it? The MAD conferences. You came see, I mean, I'm like a train spotter with this stuff, so I collect speakers in real estate. It's like a really...
It's at the Cafe Royale, actually, wasn't it?
Well, was that was that the one out on the Gold Coast?
No, and then you came to Eric.
Yes,
and we sat together on the Gold Coast. We met up there. We just met in a cafe, remember?
Well, I really like the idea about. I mean, obviously, one of the things you'll talk about, like obviously all of the gurus out there, is the importance of obviously prospecting and always being. Well, I like to think that I did my own version of it that day. I saw you talking on the stage at Eric. I saw you outside. It was actually a kebab shop, what I particularly liked.
That's right.
And I thought now's the time to catch him mid doner kebab. So that was when I struck and just said how much I like to talk to you. But look, I did. I mean, it was that case. I saw you talking many moons ago, obviously here in the UK, and in all honesty, there's a lot of fantastic speakers at Eric. But I think it's fair to say that you have a slightly different attitude, don't you, and a slightly different style to it. I mean, we will post a link up here on the show afterwards, but there is a particularly brilliant clip of you talking about auctions or options, as you guys would say at Eric. And the thing we're trying to really get to the bottom of, I suppose, Peter, is there is a fascination here in the UK with Australia. Clearly, it is probably the real estate market around. But we're interested to know as well, it's not obviously a perfect world. We're interested to know what the Aussies do well, what the aspects of what the Brits do well as well, and what we can learn from each other as much as anything. And that's why we've had a whole host of different people on, from Josh Fegan to Tom Panos, talking about obviously the differences. And I'm particularly interested in, I think it's fair to say, isn't it, people would describe you as no nonsense.
Yeah, no bullshit.
No bullshit. And then genuinely, I mean, I spoke to some of the people who you work with, and I love that. I mean, all over your website, that aspect of no bullshit obviously just shines through. And as I said, we will post that up for everyone. But you talking about options in particular that day is something that I remember from. Was it 2018? It seems like a lifetime ago, of course, but. I'm pretty sure that was when...
it was earlier. No, it was earlier, because last year I didn't speak. I spoke the year before, and I introduced the word pixel to real estate because nobody had a fucking clue what it was, and they still don't. And it's allowing every digital pariah company on the planet to just take advantage of the real estate industry. It's just bizarre what is going on, and maybe we can have a few minutes on that. So I spoke about that, and spoke about that not last year, the year before, and then it was 2 years before that I did that one. I got a standing ovation from 3,000 people, and I'd already walked off the stage, so I missed it. Pissed me off.
Well, look, it's absolutely great, and look, whenever you want to come over to the UK, if we ever start moving around, you just let us know, and we'd love to facilitate whatever we can do over here, because you would go down an absolute storm over here with that attitude. So I suppose the key thing really, we'd love to get a feeling from you. Obviously, is a bit of your backstory as well, and how you help some of the the many agents, not just Australian agents, but obviously the real estate agents get the most out of things.
Yeah, look, the backstory bores me to tears, so nobody needs that, to be honest. I'm 66 years old. And
is that because you don't know the backstory anymore? Is that?
That's right. Well, I was walking along the beach this morning. I'm on the Gold Coast. That's where I live.
Beautiful.
And I was on the beach this morning. It's 22 degrees, and it was a beautiful day. And last night we were watching, I don't know if you've seen Seinfeld on Netflix.
Yeah, look.
Yeah. It's got a new show, hasn't
it?
Unbelievable.
George Costanza is somebody that I almost get religious about. With his one of the most famous lines ever, I think, is "It's not a lie if you believe it."
So Seinfeld's standing there, like, we're watching him, and he's going on. He said, "Look, I'm 65 years old. I've seen it all."
Yeah.
And I was walking along the beach this morning, and I was thinking, I think that comes with old age a little bit. Is you've actually seen it so many times. How many times can you watch a movie? It's the same fucking story every time. It's either a romance or it's a, go and kill them all or whatever. After a while, you go, I get it. I get it, And so I'm a bit over myself. But essentially, I started when I was 21. This is all I've done since I was 21 years old. All I've done is real estate. I was managing. I gave up selling when I was about 25. I didn't like selling much, and decided to become a coach and a leader. And I was like 26 years old. And then we introduced auction to a lot of the New Zealand market, and especially where I was living, which was Dunedin, New Zealand. We introduced auction. I got it off an Australian. I was big from Harvard. I'd learned the power of strategic advantage and strategic differentiation. So I said, I've got to do something different. We bought an auction, and it blew me away because we went from number 8 to number 1 in like 6 months. But what fascinates me about, do you want me to just talk about auction for a minute?
Sure, go for it. We'll go anywhere, absolutely. It's up to you completely.
Yeah, what fascinates me about auction is a couple of things. One is that there's so much made of it in Australia.
Yeah. And
I've taught it. I have scripts and dialogues where you can take any property you want at auction. Yeah, any property. Yeah. It's beautiful. The fact is, though, it's something like 15 or 16% of properties are sold by auction. So this whole hoo-ha about top auctioneer of the year, you got to learn auction, it's the fanfare, the bullshit that goes with it that you saw on that. It's over 16%. It doesn't make any sense to me now, because if we're market driven and we're customer driven, every time you take an auction, there's 8.5 people don't want to know about you. And so that doesn't make any sense to me in a way, right? So what's happened with COVID-19 is I've actually said that a lot of the punters have headed towards online auctions. And a lot of the big franchises are going online auctions is where it's going to go. And I just think it's dribble. We've got to stop being so self-obsessed as an industry. We're totally self-obsessed. The biggest thing in our lives is the little silver pin we got at last week's monthly franchise award that I get to wear on my jacket that says, I was number 13. And
everyone's a winner.
Everyone's a winner, and there's 48 prizes given out. And I published that I won, this, that, and the other. And we've really got to go beyond that to survive, because otherwise these digital pariah are going to take it off us. And the average age in Australia of a manager is about 123. And so, they're not interested in the pixel. They're not interested in gathering their own data. And it's bizarre. Well, I've just had a client. Sorry, I've had a bit of green tea this afternoon. So shut me up, Simon, whenever you want. But I've just had a client sign up for digital marketing from a company called Real Local or something.
Yeah.
And I said, what are they doing for you? So I said, I want to meet them. So yesterday I met them. I had the guy on from New Zealand and the local person on from Brisbane, and I asked them 2 or 3 questions. They did not have a fucking clue. Then I said to them, who owns you? Are you the owners? And they said, no, we're on salary. I said, who owns you? And they said, USA Today, which is like $1 billion company in the States or something. They own us, and they're in 27 countries. I said, well, this is just bizarre. So I've taken them off them, and we've put them with our digital company because we understand what needs to happen. But it's one of the biggest issues I've seen in 40 years is the pixel. Who controls it? And it's bizarre behavior on our part to allow other people to control it.
And so let's just, I mean, I think I understand the framework here. So we're talking about the Facebook pixel in particular, aren't we? That ability to, to obviously place a pixel on your, obviously on the website, and then really know everything that goes on from that, derive lookalike audiences, similar people to you, and really drive your customer base on that through advertising and things like that.
But not only that, like there's 2 parts to it. The first part is we've got to, if you look where Facebook's going and Amazon are going, that's the future of this. And if you look at Facebook, I see Facebook as the biggest threat to, we have a company here, wonderful company called REA, realestate.com, and it's the wealthiest company I've ever seen that is absolutely detested by its entire workforce. You go into a room of 200 people, say REA, and everybody just fucking cringes.
Is that from the agents that use the service, or is that the people that actually work there? So it's the end user that hates them. We have the same issue here with our version of REA, which is called Rightmove.
I guess David, it's not actually the end user. The end user is the buyer and seller. These are what's happened here, and it's probably happened in the UK as well. Is we've just become a really cheap labor force for them. Right. Yeah. We get nothing from them. Last year they sprinkled around a bit of money to a whole bunch of agencies. It was like the king coming down from the castle and sprinkling florins and saying, come on, it's all going to be okay.
Took you forelocks, thank you, sir.
It was like that. So what's happening is they have the damn pixel. And agents, unbeknown to most of them, 90% of them, are actually going out, getting money off a vendor, giving it to a portal. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing taken in between. It's all given to the portal. So we're a workforce for them. And then what these portals are doing is whoever inquires about a house gets gathered in their pixel, as we know. And then what they do is they take your inquiry on your house that you were so kind to go out and get $5,000 worth of marketing from a vendor. And so they take that inquiry and they go out to 20 agents and say, would you like us to find you a seller?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's just crazy. And 90% have no freaking idea what's going on.
What's fascinating there, Peter, though, is over here, I am, I know they always say we're two countries separated by a common language. But in terms of the actual views, you can mail merge realestate.com for Rightmove. And they, for example, when I talk about, how expensive realestate.com is, people in the UK just simply can't believe how expensive, because over here, Rightmove has profit margins of 76%. But the key thing is they keep waiting, actually. What's fascinating is over here, they're hoping and praying that a Goliath like that Facebook is coming to save them. And you've got to be incredibly careful, haven't you, about what you wish for on that basis?
Yes, although if as an industry, even worldwide, you can talk worldwide, we start to understand that everything's changed and yet nothing's changed. None of these Goliaths can do what an agent can in 2,000 households. Yeah. They can't stand on a corner and say, I'm here helping the the Cubs, or I'm here at the surf club, you know, I sponsor the surf club, or this is a house that I'm about to list, or come to my auction, it's live auction, or come to my auction. They can't do that. So everything's changed and nothing's changed. But if we just hand it to them, it's crazy. I do think with Facebook, we've done some, you know, I part own a digital company, and we've done some exercises, and people over here are selling houses for $15 and $99. And until this industry wakes up to it and sees what's going on. See, I don't know about what it would be like. Oh, I bet it is the same in England. I did a lot of work in England. I did tours of England.
Well, that's the interesting thing. You know, we were speaking to some people yesterday who had been seeing our series of shows that we'd done talking to people in Australia. And one of them very cynically said, well, what's so great about Australia? Why are we looking to Australia for sort of advice and inspiration? And I think the way that we see it here is that most of the sort of main real estate coaches that we get to see that are very charismatic and impressive. So Panos is just one of those names, but it tends to be whoever's shouting loudest that particular week. But, you know, the focus has been on improving, and the focus has also been on improving fees. Now, over here in the UK, the squeeze on fees has been going on for years. Don't forget, you're talking to the country that gave birth to purple bricks. And so if you can give birth to purple bricks in this country, it means that you've managed the expectations of the consumer audience, so that the customers, into paying for a cheaper service. So we all assume that what's great about Australia is that actually there is this reverence for the real estate industry, and that they're able to achieve much higher fees. But in actual fact, I caught last night, I was doing a little bit of research. I heard you speak, I think 4 years ago, that in some cases the fees were falling below 1%, and that people were not only providing, basically including the marketing in that. So you weren't necessarily getting it all subsidized by the seller. So it's not all wine and roses, is it, Peter? I mean, you guys have been battling with that.
No, it's nothing like that. You know, I started, my offices were in New Zealand. About 35 years ago, the New Zealand government deregistered commission, and I panicked and designed a listing presentation. And in the end, we had the highest fees in New Zealand. We were 4% plus $500 plus GST. And so if you look at what's happened in Australia, it started off up there around 3%. But then Melbourne came along, and what Melbourne did was it became the king and queen of marketing. So they started charging for marketing, and they charged huge amounts for marketing. At the same time, they sabotaged the commission, and they have singularly led the demise of the real estate commission over here. Like there's people there doing it for 0.8. You're absolutely right. Now, Queensland has just deregulated about, I think, a year, 18 months, and they're still growing, that they're getting 2.5. They're all coming down. It's not going to last. So England, you know, the UK's got nothing to look at there. In some ways, you know, I loved working in the UK because it was real old style. You walked out your door, you walked down the road, the first agency, or you knew somebody in there, you walked in. It's a very efficient methodology in the UK because you've got 5 people in an office. I mean, do the comparison. You've got 5 people in an office. You've got a lister who can list. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I haven't been there for 10 years. I'd love to come back and do some more work. So you've got a lister there who will list 20, 25 houses. Yeah. Nobody here does that. Nobody. That's the volume merchants. There'd be 20 of them in Australia. Then you've got somebody who does the paperwork, somebody who does the marketing, and someone who does that gets the showing done and the contracts done. Now, I started with my friends a company 10 years ago called the Joneses in New Zealand. And it's the closest I've seen to what I think the future will be. And that is like, I don't know if you know Harvey Norman, it's big departments type of store. But what it was one single point of contact massive spending on TV, yeah, massive spending on billboards, 1.1 switchboard for the whole country,
yep.
Yeah, flat fee, and it was based on the fact that how can you ever explain to somebody if two houses are listed, one's $1 million and one's £1 million and one's £500,000. Yeah. They both sell in a week. How do you justify the difference in work? There is none. And yet one gets double the fee. So we started this thing and it went ballistic, and then the GFC came. But I saw where we're going. I know where we're going.
That's fascinating. We were talking to a great agent over here, Ryan from Leader Fox, who's down in Bournemouth, a sort of seaside town, and he's taken this opportunity to reimagine his business. And one of the things, he's actually just talking to his clients and being very honest and saying, look, going forwards, what would you prefer, a flat fee or a percentage, on that basis? Because I think you're right. It's difficult to justify, isn't it? How much more you're doing for the same property.
So at the moment, what's happening is the industry is prospecting. We're all out knocking on doors, and especially over here, it's shit in letterboxes for Africa. If you take all of that and you put it into a properly structured marketing campaign, which we did, the freaking phone goes off the hook. So Purple Bricks had it right in one way. My sense is, and I have no idea, but the guys looked so freaking arrogant to me. They chose the color purple, which is the most depressive, emotional color you can possibly use. You don't bring that to Australia, the land of fire and oranges and red. You don't bring fucking purple, right? And the other thing they did was they made you pay up front. So they got the bottom of the barrel. But I really respected what they could have done. At one stage I nearly rang them, and I'm not saying I would be any savior, but they didn't have it right at all. I know the model that will work in the future, and it's not this one. If you take Facebook, what I was going to say before was 70% of buyers come from within a 10K radius. Now I reckon that would be exactly the same in the UK, wouldn't it, David?
Very similar.
I reckon it wouldn't be far off, 70, 80%. So what you're going to see, what you're going to see with Facebook, in my opinion, you're going to see an increase in private sales. Yeah. Private sales companies have just been crawling along. You're going to see them going up. I'm a strategic coach, so I love the whole strategy. Yeah. So you're going to see private sales. Private sales in the States are 20, 25%. In Australia, they're like 2. In New Zealand, they're like 1. Yeah. So that's going to change, because Facebook is literally going to be able to bring people together. They're going to bring neighbors together. Yeah. $200, and every neighbor and everybody in a 5K radius is going to know your house is a sale. Here's how to buy it. Here's how to sell. Here's how to negotiate. And it's done. So I see.
So when you get called out by an agent over there as a coach, and they say, look, I want to concentrate with my guys. I want to try and up the fee rather than sort of race it to the bottom. Is there anything that you could do for them, or are you saying?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. But what most people will yell at you is a couple of really smart one-liners. Yeah. You don't up your commission through some scripts. You do at the end, and that's what I've been doing for 40 years. But getting your fees up starts with how you look after your database. It starts way, way back. How you're marketing yourself, how you're branding yourself right now, and very few people understand brand. So it starts way back there. Then it goes to how you've treated them, what you've given, give, then ask. Yeah. Then they call you in, and the presentation structure, which I taught in England, and it went off really, really, really well. The UK loved it. I have a very structured presentation that I got by asking 200 people who had listed or were about to list what they wanted from an agent. We did focus groups, 20, 30. I love focus groups. So we asked them, what do you want when someone comes up the path? And they gave us 5 big things, which I'm not going to give you now. So they gave us those, and we've written a presentation around that. So it starts right back there with relationships. Does that make sense? Is that fair?
No, it does. I think I mean, we found here that if if your phone rings and it's a cold lead, you've never spoken to them before, and the first question they ask is, "Hi, I'm looking to sell my house. What's your commission?" Then that is the wrong way to start a conversation, and you're not really ever going to have that relationship with them that counts. If we do something for the community, or and we've been nurturing that relationship with them, so we help somebody that they know, and then they sort of say, "Hey, look, you've been recommended." The likelihood is that the first conversation you're going to have is going to be it's a less aggressive conversation. They're not going to say, "Look, I'm selling today." It can be a slow burn. It can take you a year. But when you get to it, the competition in general, and also the fee structure, isn't really a consideration, because they want you at that stage.
Yeah. And if I cut my teeth on Tom Hopkins. That must be 30 or 40 years ago. Someone said the other day he's still out there going and working at it. But his idea was, I remember somebody in a crowd asked him, "When do you start closing?" And he said, "The minute you get to the door." That's all gone now. And he said the first 20 minutes you spend with someone should be talking about yourself. Now, you'd only have to tell agents, you only have to tell them that once, and they get it, and they're happy to talk for 40 minutes about themselves. I mean, we're in love with our own freaking reflection. I estimate...
Hey, if we don't love us, who's going to love us, right?
I estimate between meeting somebody at an open day and doing a presentation, getting a presentation from them, you would have seen 23 photos of them. All different angles, all winning, with the awards.
Yeah.
Routine.
Photoshop.
It's just all Photoshop. It's bizarre behavior, yeah.
So one of the things I love about Peter, is, and you talk about it on your website, and I recommend everyone to go there, petergilchrist.com.au, and you talk about some of the main aspects of business, and that element about scripts in particular. You talk about believing in two main aspects: that the strategy scripts and dialogues that you use should be totally customer centric, that you should not learn smart manipulative scripts and strategies, but rather consultative ideas and ways to work with clients, not at them. And I think that's such a lovely, it's obviously, it's not saying that there's not a place for obviously working through scripts and everything else there, but not to force people to do what they're not intending or wanting to do in the first place, is it?
A lot of this industry, it seems to me, is about learning manipulation. If they do this, do that quickly, but you got to do it quickly. And you've got to bond with people, When you get in the house, make sure you bond. Look around for something that you've got in common. No one gives a fuck what they've got in common with a real estate agent. Oh, your son plays soccer, so does mine. Oh, we'll list with you then all day long. Where do we sign? It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. People want somebody who know the process, who know what to do next. So, and what I'm teaching at the moment, we just had a interesting time. You might be interested in this, where we had 100 people on Zoom for my 2-day scripts.
Yeah.
And what we did was we used Zoom to put them in breakout rooms to role play together. And it worked incredibly well. So you push a button and 100 people will disappear off your screen, and they go into a room with somebody else. It tells them 30 seconds you're coming back to the main room.
Yeah.
So you push the button and back they come. But one of the things that I'm teaching now is, first of all, the more you're in the right space to list, the more you're going to list. If you want to beat the bully in your area, if you've got someone, they walk in and they go, "I list everything here. You've seen all my stuff. I'm the one, aren't I? Press hard, 4th copy's yours." That person takes all the listings, right? So if you want to beat them, you're not going to beat them by saying, "I'm brand new. I've only been here 6 months. I've never listed a house. List with me." It's not going to work. And the photo of most of these agents, including me, most of them shouldn't be sending photos anywhere of themselves, right? But when you get out there, if you are the big buzzword for me at the moment, if you're present. If you are present, if you are there, and you take your lead off those people as they're talking, they will give you not your next bit of vomit where you're just going to talk over them. They'll give you your next question. And every time you want to talk at those people, ask another question. And so what happens is I'm teaching now to meditate before you go in the house. And this is not fluffy shit. This is serious stuff. You meditate. There's questions you ask when you get to the door that lowers you off your high horse and brings you down to humanity. So when you knock on the door, we're the same. No one's above me. No one's beneath me. We're all just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And so, that's where we go with this thing. So I've really softened. I know I get all,
emotional.
I get emotional and go on, but it's essentially, we've got to focus on them way more.
Yeah.
On the customer.
I grew up on Tom Peters. Anyone who hasn't watched Tom Peters' website, I've studied that guy for 30 years. And he taught me about customer. I reckon I'd have more documented information on real estate customers than anyone. And do you know what, David? No one ever asked me for it. I had a full-time customer service person 40 years ago. 35 years ago, with a PS64, we had a database where we knew who liked tennis, who played golf, who liked art, and we were just about to put a kids club in, because when kids when kids move, right, it's emotional.
Yeah.
And so for this company called the Joneses, which was valued after...
It sounds like it was way ahead of its time.
Oh, it was miles ahead. It was a bunch of amazing guys. It was the best way to tear up 7 million I've ever seen because of the GFC.
Yeah.
But we had a shitload of fun doing it. But you know what we had? We had all these touch points in place so that when you listed, if you had kids under 10, you had to bring them in. And we gave them a little backpack. And the backpack had written on it, my special things. And we said, when the truck comes to take all your stuff to your next house to move, I want you to put your special stuff in this backpack. Yeah. And it was awesome. So that's the sort of things that we were doing there. No one ever asks me about it. Seriously. No one ever says, come and teach us customer service. I've got volumes on it.
Why not? Are they after quick fixes?
Yeah. They're at the other end. They'd rather you were yelling at them with one-liners and Kai fucking A and, watch Braveheart before you go to work in the morning. And
well, I saw that. So yeah, you watch Braveheart, you get a bit of inspiration for 2 days, but, then it dissipates and you need to keep going after that. And this isn't an easy industry because you're dealing with people and, I used the word emotional before, but you want to know the definition of emotional. Go and visit a lady in her home and tell her that her kitchen might not be what the buyers are looking for, or any kind of stressful process where you are dealing with somebody's home and people are very precious about that. It's almost like you call their baby ugly. So you have to be extremely careful where you tread with it. And it's therefore, I think, in this profession, very easy to fall out of love with it, to lose that sort of passion and the drive and the focus. And yes, there are a lot of those coaches that give you that shot in the arm that you need to keep you going for the next couple of days. But what do you advise in order to sort of keep people in an industry where you can quickly lose your grip? How do you keep going?
So for me, it all comes back, and please don't get me wrong, I adore this industry. It's looked after me. I love the people in it. Right now, I'm really concerned about people in this industry where they're lost. The commissions are coming down. You know, there's and last year there was a lot less sales than there was the year before. All these things are happening, and it's like we can't just sort of, we have to keep coming from outside and looking back in and saying, strategically, what do we need to do? So I adore these people. That, you know, I love them. So for me, it means you need to work on the self first. And, you know, one of my favorite agents, he's my favorite agent because he does mega numbers, 140, 150 deals a year. But he says, you know, life is here. Business is there. You don't sacrifice one for that. He just laughs at awards. He laughs at people that go across the stage and tell their story and how much money, and up at 3:30 in the morning. They've been to the gym 3 times before breakfast and all that stuff. I mean, I get it. It's.
I like this guy.
Yeah, you're talking to the right people here.
You know, and you sort of say, seriously, guys, you can't go to the gym without putting it on Facebook. And so there will be a bunch of people that are programmed that way. But there's a lot of people in this industry just want to make a good living, look after people really well, and, you know, hopefully take some money out of the industry and build some assets. So for me, it comes back to you. We're about to do a program on a thing called the Enneagram. And I've got a mate who lives on a Greek island, and he's going to do a whole bunch of interviews with me around the 9 types of human operators there are. And we're going to relate it to how you have reacted to this virus. But yeah, so for me, most coaches are what I call, you just tell me when to be quiet, but most coaches are what I call outcome coaches. Yeah. When you get in front of them and say, what do you want? Yeah, what do you want? And we say, well, I'm doing 200,000 now, but I'd really love to do 600,000. 600,000, let's just write that down. There we go. So we write down 600,000 and we work backwards from there, and we say, you know, you got to make 60 calls, that you got to do this, and I'm going to keep you accountable. That will last as long as you ring them every hour of the day. Otherwise, it's the way you're programmed that will tell you how much you're going to earn. Otherwise, we'll all sit in front of a $2 million earner and go straight out and do it. There's a wonderful book just been written. I love Harvard, and I love the books that come out of it. It's called The 9 Lies of Work. And this guy he was one of the massive computer company CEOs, and he had like 300,000 employees, and they did all this research, and they found these 3 lies. See if I can remember what they are. The first one is that anybody else has any idea what's better for you than you do. Yeah, that is bullshit. Yeah. Right. The second one is that results and results are transferable. That I can sit and watch someone go straight out and do it. It's absolute garbage. Can't remember what the third one was. But this whole idea of just putting $2 million earners in front of people, in the end, you just piss them off. Yeah. It actually just pisses people off. I can't do what this guy's doing. I can't be this woman. And I guess I start from a place of saying, forget the outcome. One of my favorite sayings is give up on the outcome. Don't set a goal. Yeah. Set an expectation.
So Peter, that's a really fascinating. I mean, one of the things we talk about a lot over here is those people that, you know, make that mistake of looking at the doubling of turnover for themselves and their business. You know, it's just entirely wrong, because you've got to turn it the other way around. Look at iterative improvements in key KPIs, and that will lead to the doubling of turnover, not the other way around. That's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy, and yet no one talks about it. Goal setting has let us down. I just said a wrong word there. I said set an expectation, set an intention for the next year. My intention is I'm heading that way. I'm going to grow this business. That's all I want. Yeah. Now, stop your nonsense, because I don't care what's going to happen in 12 months' time. I'm interested in what's happening this afternoon. And if you put enough this afternoons together, tomorrow morning together, tomorrow afternoon together, if you focus on the client, the customer, the people around you, your salespeople as a manager, and you do the right thing at the right time every day, your intention, you'll blow it into the wings. I've had so many cases with this. You know, $1 million agents come to me and say, I want to go to $2 million. And I say, I have no interest. They go, what the hell are we going to do? So I'm going to sort out your whole base. Everyone's coming. Most of us are coming off the wrong base. We've got partnership problems. We've got health problems. We've got home problems. We've got a problem that we don't like picking up the phone. Unless you fix that, And we, at Real Training, I actually have a guy who does that for me. He goes to $1 million earners around the country, and he will wipe out the fact that, yes, I know you went broke 5 years ago, but it's time to get onto it. So he will make that go away. Yes, I realize.
So is that like from a personal kind of psychology point of view?
Yes,
So
it is.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah,
so
it is.
so you're taking that individual, you're working out what's broken, if you like, and trying to get that in line so that their work then follows from that.
Yeah. What's getting in the way of you earning $1 million? We know what to do. Yeah. We've all seen it with the guys and ladies going across the stage. We know what to do. It's why we don't do it. That is coaching for me. Then it just flies, David. It just goes nuts.
How long does it take you to sort of get to the bottom of it?
It's not a one-day fix, but it's about 60 days. You'll see serious change. But it's not from me telling you got to knock on doors, yippee-ki-yay. It's not from that. You can't do it from that. You do that with someone. It's like the weight loss industry. It's the biggest failure industry in the world.
Tell us about it.
But it relies on that, and to a certain extent, some form, I'm not saying your form of real estate training, but some forms of real estate training, they need the losers. They need the people that are never going to quite make it, because, as you say, sometimes the biggest obstacle is you, and it's you that is telling yourself that you can't do it, or that there's other circumstances in your life. And you're right. Once you shut that door in your office and your clients at night, you come home, you've got your family, your partner, whatever it may be, money problems, whatever it is that fills your head. That then sets you up for when you do go back into that office tomorrow morning, and you carry all that shit with you.
Take it all with you. You take it all with you. You know, we've now got, we do a lot of work on psychological profiling, and we have a psychological profile that nails you within an inch of your life. Yeah, it's called Caliper. And if anybody listening wants one, just send us an email or something and we'll get it. And what happens is it measures you on 22 different traits. And it's got the big four. This is not a toy. This is a serious. It's out of one of the big universities, not Harvard, but one of the others. And there's something like 20 million people been through it. And the big four are ego, drive, assertiveness, confidence, and something else. But it measures 22 others, right? So here's the thing. I love these 22 traits, and there's a couple of them are massive. So one of them, it measures your accommodation. And so if you've got 90% accommodation, what that means is if anybody comes and asks you to do anything, have you got a minute as a manager? Have you got a minute? It's impossible for you to say no. You can't do it. You're incapable of doing it. Now, we can measure that sort of stuff. It measures your self-structure, your external structure. It measures so many things. And we use it to say, we need to change your accommodation. You got to learn to say no, or you're not going anywhere. Now, that to me is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to somebody.
It is.
It is.
And it's traditionally what somebody would be paying a shrink to do. You'd sit in front of them, and over a process of weeks, they'd try and sort of get you to understand that is the issue.
Yeah. So we've got ways of stopping it. Well, I can teach you how to say no. You know, it's that. So if you're not assertive enough, it comes back to scripts and role plays. So we have things that help in all those 22 traits. It's very cool. Sorry, am I gone off on another track?
It's really interesting because I don't think we see that anywhere. I've not seen it anywhere, and I don't know if it exists differently in Australia, but over here when we look at real estate coaching, they focus on the processes. So they say, look, the reason you guys are not earning enough is because you're not prospecting enough. And because you're not prospecting enough, you're not having enough conversations with people who will remember you. And then, and you come out of that first session feeling this big. And, you know, so there are some great trainers out there, and you know that you're not doing the right things, and you know that your processes could be tightened up, but you don't need to pay somebody to tell you the fucking obvious.
Yeah, and when they tell you the obvious, you got to make more focus. It's not helpful because you look at the phone, and go, but I don't want to pick it up. And see what neuroscience is saying now, which I love, is that we don't have the choices we think we do. See, everyone just says, make different choices, man. You've got to do this differently. You've got to get into work early. You've got to do this. We don't have the ability to make those choices. We will make choices regarding situations, opportunities, and problems based on what's gone before, on how our life has been formed.
So a large degree there, but you're saying that's predetermined based on your experiences?
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah.
A lot of what you're talking about there, Peter, there, which I love, is, I mean, we're not particularly great at any sport anymore, but the one that we did particularly nail was, well, I always give that I'll give you guys a free hit for that. But, you know, cycling was an area that we really absolutely, you know, totally dominated. And a guy, I think it was called Dave Brailsford, looked at iterative improvements. And it's beautiful in sport, but it's amazing in business as well that, you know, look at key iterative improvements of tweaking what you do by, you know, the odd percent here, the odd percent there. And those cumulative improvements that you make there lead to that double performance. And I absolutely love that, because those are the small things that you can do every day. You come out, what's the bit I'm going to do a bit better today? And that I really buy into that.
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
And if I do one thing a little tiny bit, you know, you look at someone $2 million and they're charismatic and they know how to talk, and everyone's saying, you got to be like him. Fuck am I going to do that?
Yeah, you are. You just need to be Tom Cruise, basically. Here you are.
You need to be straight into Tom Cruise. You could be Tom Ferry. You got to talk loud. I don't know. So yeah, for me, it comes right back to here. And I'm big on the base. The base for a manager is everything. If you take a company with two partners, quite often they're not in sync. I mean, I'm working with a wonderful company at the moment where 3 owners bought their company together. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a freaking nightmare.
3 egos.
You know, you've got 1 + 1 + 1 is making about 1.8. And so it's not right. Now, you could go in there and say, but you need to be like this and like that. It's not going to work. You have to go in and you have to fix the base. You have to get the job roles right. And we do most of our work is with managers. Yeah, that's who I mainly coach. And so you have to get the base right. You have to get ownership right, job roles right, payment structures right. You have to get the mindset right. You have to get rid of somebody who's not pulling their weight, and so on. In real estate is a big thing about shares mean jobs. But I own 50%, so I do the back office.
Yeah.
You're crap at it, so you're fired. You can keep your shares.
Just go home.
Go home or go back selling. Do what you like, but we need someone to run this company. Yeah. That is a massive part of what I do in the end.
So that's we were talking about this, David, just the other day, isn't it? Just because you're a great valuer or a real estate agent does not mean you're going to be a good manager at business.
No. In fact, some of the people that you meet, you look at them and you know they're going to be great as somebody else's right-hand man, but they're not going to be the main man running the show because they don't have that skill set. And we're not necessarily training. In this industry, we tend to train to do one particular role. So yeah, you're going to be a sales negotiator, or you're going to be a lister, or whatever it is. But that doesn't stand us in very good stead to breed managers who are a completely different animal, aren't they?
So Caliper measures you for management, property management, and sales, and for administration. So we can push one button and say that this person is brilliant for admin. This person is the absolute makeup of a great salesperson. So we can do it that way. I mean, I want to just pick up on something, if you don't mind. I don't know how long you want to go here. As I say, just close me down. But I want to just pick up on something about the English model, because I think the English do look everywhere else. Yeah. But if you've got an office with 5 people in it, and I know you do, turning over, making 30 sales a month, that's unheard of here.
Yeah.
Totally unheard of. And that was the way the Joneses went. We had one office that was doing 30 or 40 deals with 5 people in it. That's unheard of here. I just want to make that point. So there's a lot that you do right.
Peter, we actually, coming to that, Eric, we brought over a couple. I'm from the supplier world, so I don't really know jack shit about anything, but we took a couple of really good agents from the UK over to Eric, and obviously they were wowed. And what inevitably happened afterwards, Aussies were really welcoming in terms of giving us, talks and walks around their businesses. And funny enough, you mentioned those Melbourne. We went into Marshall White. We spoke to, John Bongiorno, I think it was, and Jack and James Connell there. We, as you do, we sat around a table with these British agents. And what had been interesting, by the way, the British agents have been they've done probably about 5 or 10 meetings now. And every time they've been asked about what their average fee is, they pushed it up each time to make it look more respectable. So to find what was, because when they started
come out of there at 10%.
Yeah, it was like, because genuinely when they spoke to the Nathan Emerson, who's a fantastic agent, and at the time he was working for an agency called Pygott and Crone, who you talk about volume there. They were doing 100, 120 from a single office a month. I mean, this is how. So what? But yeah, the average fee was was risible in terms of, and what the guys were, they were asking what the average fee is, and they said it was like 2,000-3,000 Aussie dollars, and they just looked in disgust and sort of didn't bother talking to him for a few minutes until that moment about, okay, well, let's look at efficiency, and then they said that must be a super office. You must have 30, 40, 50 people in there. And they said, no, it's got 8 people. And it's like, that blew their minds. Absolutely.
Now, if you want to feel even better about it, if you're listening to this in the UK, and again, I love real estate here, but I've worked in Singapore, South Africa, New Zealand, UK. And, another thing about it is that your offices were, I don't know if they still are, but they were very valuable because they had all these add-on services, the finances. I mean, I'm an owner, shareholder, director of Nectar over here. We have 100 brokers right throughout Australia. And, I remember that. I remember somebody telling me they're about to sell 50 offices for, it was obscene. It was like 100 million or something as a franchise. And so, there is a lot to be, I think, proud of, and to learn from both parts of it. But I wouldn't be chasing the model here if I was in England, to be honest.
That is interesting. I mean, and a lot of Aussies have looked this way to see how we do those, and financial services, conveyancing, utilities, all adding up and everything else. And like famously, our biggest estate agent, it's changed a little bit recently because they're not having the best of times, but Countrywide used to make 50p in the pound on those services, on financial. And I remember John McGrath was talking about it. He was talking about how the hell did they have Oxygen, I think it was, which was the financial arm of McGrath at the time. So they were trying to figure out, look, what do the Brits do in that respect so well, obviously. And to be honest, it's because we have to mitigate the low fees again.
Well, yes, but no, I think it's more than that. you've got a group of 5 people doing 30 deals. Is that fair? Let's just say, just give me those numbers, right? Yeah. So you've got 5 people doing 20 to 40 deals in a month. But those people are not on massive commission. They're not able to do whatever they want every hour of the day, right? A lot of them are on wages. That was the Joneses. We put everyone on wages, and it was brilliant. We followed the English model. So these people have to put stuff into a CRM.
Yeah.
And so you've got control of the CRM. So you can go straight to those people and say, do you need finance? Do you need the changeover merchant? Whereas in Australia, the tail wags the dog.
Yeah.
So the agents have got so much power. They don't want to use your CRM. They don't even use it. And I think there's another thing at play here. If I've just made $15,000 for selling one house, I don't need to go and do another 20. Yeah. Although I do have one client that sold 22 houses. Him and 2 other people sold 22 houses in January. And these are the volume merchants, and they are here, but there's not very many of them. So I call it the reverse syndrome of, you go in to buy a suit and they say that suit will be £3,000. And then they turn to you and they say, did you want that tie? It's £20. And you go, oh yeah, chuck it in. And the shoes are only £120. Chuck it. Yeah, chuck them in. And socks, yeah, chuck it all. Well, this is the reverse of that. I've just made $15,000. Do you want to make £2.93?
Why would you have that difficult conversation?
For the next 10 years by telling us that they need finance? No, fuck off. I don't.
So why is it, Peter? So in terms of breeding real estate coaches, and both here in the UK, Australia, the States, anywhere, your approach is very heavily based on research, focus groups, statistics, analyzing the data, working out which buttons to push and which questions to ask. And that really, to me, is an organizational psychologist. You walk in and you smell when you're talking about looking at that company with the 3 partners, you're taking the temperature in the room, you're working out what it smells like in there, and it doesn't smell good, and you know that it's not right, and you know that it needs to be fixed. Why aren't more people taking that approach?
What did you call me? I'd write those words down, but they're very long.
I can email them to you later.
What's it? Organizational psychologist.
All of my sentences are available on a CD, so you can listen to them in a car for long car journeys.
SIKOL. Does it go something like that? So I don't know. I've been doing this
because I'll tell you, my wife is a psychologist, and she started out in organizational psychology, which deals really with the culture in the company, and so when you have mergers and acquisitions, that's the 2 things that always clash, and you need to try and find common ground. But your approach is very much that, look, you've got a goal or something that you want to achieve. Let's fix what's stopping you from doing that, as opposed to just showing you a picture of you doing that and go, there you go and do it. And I think that's an amazing approach. And listening to you, I'm asking myself, why aren't more people doing that?
Yeah. And I don't know. We sort of we're pretty undersold over here. I've become an artist. So I'm absolutely obsessed with, I've collected really amazing art all my life. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago I started pushing a paintbrush around, and I've gone nuts on it, absolutely nuts on it. That's why if you want, I'd love to come and do some work in England. I'd love to get back to the Tate Modern is one of my absolute favorite places on the planet. So I guess for me, I've just got enough balance. I'm comfortable. I'm pretty full in terms of clients, and I don't know, David. I don't know why.
It's hard work though, isn't it? It's not easy to do, is the simple truth, is it? And that's like everything. You were talking about those $2 million agents. The reason why not everyone's doing it is because it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy, and they're driven by something. They're driven by triggers that have come up for them, you know, that they're not enough or whatever it is, or they're just out having fun and they're open. I'm very big at the moment on whether you're open or contracted. And I think there's two types of people in the world. One's open to anything and one's contracted. And we get contracted at different levels. Like one of the things that I talk about with agents is every single agent and manager and business owner has a point at which they get overwhelmed and start to contract.
Yeah.
And so again, David, what you're talking about, you know, we apply theory and models and ideas and exercises and assistance in opening at that point. Because if you don't open at that point, you might get above it for a bit, but you're coming straight back down. You're coming straight back down. So that whole busyness syndrome, you know, it's interesting even in, you know, and I don't even know what you do, but everyone's got a point at which they get really busy. That's the place to analyze and say, why am I busy here? And what would it look like for me not to be busy? What would it look like for this to be the norm? That's what I love analyzing. And every agent, if you ask any agent in Australia how many listings they like to carry, they'll give you a straight answer. They go, oh, about 8. Oh, that's their limit. That's them done. And you can watch Braveheart pump the year all day long, but they ain't going above 8. It's not going to happen because it's
in
programmed.
terms of what they can manage.
That's what they think they can manage for whatever reason, because their parents told them, you know, you don't make easy money in this world. And if I managed 40 listings, I'd make $1 million. Damn, that'd be easy. But my dad told me you don't make easy money. This is how it worked. I know. I've been doing this so long. So if we look at that, break that down, play with it, open, open, open. I've got $1 million agents with the word open behind their screen up on the wall. Open. So you took another 10 listings, open. Yeah. You took another 10, open. You just made 100 grand, just money, open. That's how it grows.
Yeah.
Enough from me.
I wanted to say thank you, Peter, but just another thing as well. So for people who want to find out more about you, obviously the website's the place to go to. So petergilchrist.com.au, and there's whole details there about that caliper service. And then you do a few more sort of membership deals as well on there, don't you?
Yeah, managers, if you want to communicate with us and get what we're doing, just jump on Coaching Cafe for agents or Coaching Cafe for managers, and you'll find it's pretty easy. And it's very low-key stuff, but yeah, that's where I do my new stuff. That's where I talk to them.
We'll post that back up there. I was interested. I'm funny enough, I'd seen that in Zoom, the breakout rooms, and I couldn't figure out how you would use them. So you've actually you've made that clear to me now, finally there. But look, Peter, thank you very much. It's a bank holiday here, so we're going to retire now. But we were looking forward to it all week. As I said,
back to bed.
I would love listening to your stuff, genuinely. It's, you know, there's so much similarity on the stage at ARIC. Still great stuff, but when you came on, it's just a breath of fresh air, and I think everyone will appreciate that today. So thank you for being so sparing with your time, and we'd love to catch up with you again when you've got a moment.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the day, guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter. Bye-bye.
Take care.